Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Anthony James here with the Grindhouse Podcast. Got a special guest with us today. Of our do you say that you're a founder or CEO? How do you like to say it when you talk about your business?
Um, wow. I'd like to say a founder.
Founder.
Um, I think in the beginning stage you'll say CEO, but one thing you'll find out that it's not a title that you can take lightly. And founder mean you're starting to step away and starting to trust people around you. So I go by founder mostly.
Okay, so we'll go with founder of Bell and Bell Investments, Guy Bell. Guy, thank you for joining me, man. I know we tried this before and we had some technical difficulties, but we're here now, man. So how you doing today?
I can't complain. It's definitely anytime you wake up is a great day, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be on the podcast with the Grindhouse. Just a fan of everything you guys do.
Yeah, like I said, we've been at this scene like forever, man, and we're just like it's kind of funny when you get to the point of where your balls just seems to keep how it's just rolling and rolling, and now it's moving fast, and we're like, oh crap! So, but we got to do it when it starts moving fast. You got to just jump on, man.
Yes, sir. I get that one. Oh.
So I'm gonna ask you because obviously we're rolling, you're rolling right now. So when and how did you get your start with Bell and Bella? Like, how did you come have the vision, and what made you just say, you know what, this is what I want to focus on?
Wow, that's I say the vision started 5 years ago. Um, I wanted to do something different. I've been in retail for 20 years, but I also know how the story ends for everybody. So I wanted to do something different, not just with my life, with everybody's life. So had some colleagues and met with some people. The only way to do that was to, start investing. And it's easier said than done. I tell people it is not for the faint of heart, but if you have people around you, you can make it happen. So I just got into investing first and kind of seeing how things work, but I fell in love with my clients, and I don't mean that literally. It's just they're hardworking, everyday people. Um, these, and they seem a lot of locked out of what society offers them. Financial literacy, some troubles, and then something sparked in my head. How many people out there in the world don't know this? Okay, even I didn't know this myself. I had to learn everything on the fly. So I kind of started with the investing, but then that took a life of its own. And I'm like, I want to do more for the community. And then that's when Guy Bell and Bella Inc. was created. And this side of the business is more tailored to athletes and how I can help impact them.
So when it comes to impacting athletes, because this obviously speaks to my heart, raising an athlete, us to how we with training athletes and things like that. What was the motivation to when you decided, hey, athletes is kind of a focus point that I want to make sure that they are taken care of, because it's easy to say help. But a lot of times athletes don't get taken care of when it comes to the things that they want to do when it comes to this side of the business.
I believe being an ex-athlete on multiple levels, I'm not going to go too depth all that. All I know is I fell short. Sundays didn't happen. So I know looking back now that it's a business, and how many of our athletes are in the world right now that don't really understand it's a business. So my job is to kind of level set that with them, the parents, and let them understand that they need financial literacy, whether they succeed in sports or not. We all know it's 0.0 like 0.001%, something like that to be a professional athlete. So what are we doing for them after that if they don't even make it? So um, it just fell in just if I took them under my wing, and if they're the athletes they say they are, then they'll be committed to also the books. You got to be a D1, D2, doesn't really matter what level. You got to be able to study. So I put them through the test. You got to study financial literacy with me, and that gives me the ability to give them some hands-on training, hands-on investing, and just really make sure that they're going to be squared away in their bloodline and their next bloodline to really get this thing going.
Yeah, and so and obviously with financial literacy, it's a I want to say I want to kind of break down the word as to how you're using it for the athletes. So, what's some of those classes or those courses or those things that you have the athletes doing? And obviously, I don't want to it's a business for you, so I don't want to go too in depth and to break down too much. But what are some of the things that these athletes are kind of learning when it comes to for that financial literacy for themselves and for their families?
Well, they're learning that. I mean, it's so massive. I try to break it down smaller. That's why Robert Kiyosaki has a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. All
Mm-hmm.
my students have to read that, and we kind of go over chapter to chapter. But to shorten it up for the podcast, to understand what you were learning about money in school is not how it works. And
Mhm.
I know I say that lightly because sometimes people look at me like you shouldn't say that. No, yes, I should say that.
Yeah.
My job is to teach athletes and students or parents, anybody who wants to learn that time is money, and you got to look at money like water, it flows. Don't chase it. You
Mhm.
chase it'll chase you. So I really teach how to make money with no money. I teach how to invest money. So while you're sleeping, you're making money.
Mhm.
This is just a game changer, and I'm sure I can go into more depth, but that's kind of the overview of it.
Okay. And it kind of reminds me of, and I'm going to jump off a little bit because I had a conversation with parents when we were starting the recruiting journey. I was trying to let them know, hey, do you know what classes your kids should be taking in high school? And this was just, kind of in the beginning where I'm like, my son is looking to graduate early. Do you
Mhm.
even know what you need to take, or what the counselors didn't know? And really kind of going into and knowing that he ended up going to the University of Washington, where he only needed 3 years of math in order to enroll in their university, but the school district was requiring 4. So, do I
Yeah.
really want my child to have to take trigonometry, or can we take basic math afterwards? You know what I mean? So, so that's why I kind of asking the question about the families, and I'm kind of going to get back there. I'm kind of roundabout is that how have the families taken on, because I think athletes are always like, hey, how am I going to manage my money later and things like that, or I want to learn about my money. But families are kind of, it's kind of like, what can you do for me now, then what can you do for me later? So how do the families kind of latch on to the program as well?
I think when I usually talk to parents, and like I said, what can you do to me now? What you can do later? This is a two-headed sword. I'll start asking them, "Have you prepared for your demise?" I know that
Mhm.
sounds harsh, um, but that's just the reality of it. Do you have a UIL set up? Do you have these set up? And then most likely they tell me no. I say, okay, well, we're going to invest with your son, and we're going to build and create all this, and we're going to get you some life insurance, vice versa.
Mhm.
Um, when it's broken down, I had some long conversations, took about 5 hours. And the long story short is that we were all brought up not to talk about money. It was like a cardinal sin.
Right.
Um, Most of the parents are receptive to it now and understanding that they're about as at ground zero as their kids are with financial literacy. So there's really been no kickback or pushback,
Mhm.
and because most of these families want their generations to change, their bloodlines to change. So far, I'm going to be honest with you, I've not met any parent yet that hasn't been 100% supportive.
That's good. That's good, because that lets me know that the parent is focused on the kid's future. I know that we talked offline a little bit, about some of the things that I put away from my child, just to make sure that, hey, we want to make sure that you're good after this, because football's going to end. No,
Yeah.
whether you end it or it ends you, football will
One way, yeah.
football will end at some point. So, well, when it comes to, and I'm going to ask you a question kind of about the physical development of players, because obviously you're still dealing with football players, basketball players in their sport. When it comes to that physical development and that piece, how do you tie that into the financial literacy piece as well? How do you tie, okay, I'm training at a high level for my sport, but I'm also trying to train my mind. So how do you tie those two together? If you do it as well.
Man, that's a good question. I get a lot of kickback sometimes from the athletes, but I kind of spin it. There's That's a good question. I'm not, that is a good question because hand in hand, I kind of use what you just said. I make them they're already all talented, even if they're not talented or developing, but I make them think of what are you going to do afterwards.
Mhm.
Okay, so a lot of them, say you're right, coach, and then they focus on when they're tired and they're beat up, and I'll start saying, "You want to take care of your family? Yes, I want to do. How you going to take care of? 'Em? I'm going to learn. How you going to learn? I'm going to learn finances." So I kind of use subliminal messages in the financial literacy classes, to even motivate them while they're doing their training, and
Yeah.
that's the best I can answer that because each athlete is different.
Mhm.
Um,
Hi, I'm Shane with Restore Hyper Wellness right here in Murphy, Texas. I'm proud to say we're partners with Grindhouse Sports Training just next door in Wiley. Now, Coach Washington over at Grindhouse Sports Training has done a phenomenal job at not just building out a business in the community, being a pillar in the community, but also being an inspiration to the young, talented kids that he trains each and every day. Now, last year, Coach Washington started a podcast, a Grindhouse podcast. The links are below. I encourage each and every one of you to go check this out, listen to it, like it, enjoy it. Coach Washington will walk you through his personal experiences, what motivates him, what made him what he is today, and why he's so effective at being a phenomenal leader to these young, talented individuals. Check out the podcast. We'll see you soon.
So,
Yeah, and I think the long term goal of each athlete is different as well, because you got a lot of amazing athletes who I'm only doing this for the money. You know what I mean? That, and you have a lot of people who I'm doing it for the love. But at the end of the day, that love is not. It's still a business. At the end, whether it's college, whether it's pro, it's still a business. Some people we learn at the easy way. Some people we learn at the hard way.
yes.
That the business side will come to you. And kind of think about the business side. How has NIL affected your financial literacy? Because I know that they're even though they sound the same, they're not mutually exclusive. So with NIL and kids preparing for college, how does that affect their financial literacy as far as like their studying of it and their what they understand of it as well?
Man, wow. There's a lot of them hear NIL, but it's like you said, they really don't deep dive in. And if I choose to brand you, even if we come to an agreement or NIL, you won't see, I'll maybe let you see 10% of it. The rest of it, it's going to get invested. It has to get invested, because the most dangerous thing we can do is give kids or even parents money, and they don't really know how to make it grow. And then next thing you know, they're back in the same spot they started in. So you really have to get them to get past the money part and look past the long term, and that's the hardest part, because like you say, most people want it now. So I usually have to formulate a plan between 1 to 5 years, and I have them focus more on the fifth year or the eighth or seventh year, because investing is a long term play. It's not a quick fix. So hopefully, and most of them, gravitate to that.
Yeah.
But I
It's
don't know.
it's definitely hard for them to see the long term a lot of times, especially when you had nothing. That you would just say that's the part there where a lot of athletes, I shouldn't say had nothing, but had nothing of your own, because this is really your first job is being an athlete. And obviously with building that, you're building a brand, which means you're building a business. So I'm going to assume that these athletes are building LLCs and businesses and things like that, and kind of taking ownership in themselves. Am I safe to assume that as well?
The agreement is, I like when you look to sign kids and keep them. The goal in the teaching training, you will build LLCs, you will get that hands-on training, but the first deals in LLCs, I have to be 50% in the business with them, and that isn't because I need anything from them. That's because I need to save them from themselves in the beginning. With being in school and parents and all the studying, no one's going to want to do the legwork behind the scene of what it's going to take to keep building their portfolios.
Right.
So I'm really engulfed in that. Oh,
Yeah. Excuse me.
you're fine. So it's not that they're going to be off and running. It's really broken down, and let parents read it. Attorneys can read it if they choose to, but it's pretty self-explanatory that what it turns up into, not just the ink. I end up turning into a sports agent as well,
Right.
managing their portfolios. And if they choose to carry me over to whatever sport or a bigger NIL deal, if not by me, someone else, how I can help them navigate through it.
Okay. And what's some of those steps, some of the impact that it's been on those athletes when it comes to that ownership, that feeling of I'm building my brand, I'm building my legacy. How has that helped them with their mental development? Because again, that's the part that we don't talk about. We talk about financial, we talk about physical, but their mental maturity as to what they're doing. Do you feel like NIL has helped, and this section has helped those athletes become mentally mature, mentally stable faster compared to when we were athletes and growing up and playing?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. Each athlete's different. I've
Yes.
seen multiple ones, but the ones that I don't have to put in as much understanding is they walk around with their head higher, and they're looking at their self as a brand. They're having more pride in their family. They have more pride in what they do in the community. They're having more pride in every aspect of their life. Okay, so it has been a great experience helping those other athletes understand how important branding yourself is. Most people say, "Hey, what's Bell and Bella?" I said, "It's my brand." And they're like, "What about the business?" I said, "Really, you should build your brand before your business." I was fortunate enough; I did it backwards. That's because we learned we
You learned the hard way.
I learned the hard way, and I don't want them to go through that way. But
Yeah.
I mean, but it wasn't an easy task. I tell everyone, my wife for 15 years, she taught me financial literacy because I was clueless, a
Mhm.
clueless jock, she would
That's
say.
that's usually how it goes, man. When you build, listen, I've speaking of clues, like I said, I'm a novice at what we're doing right here, and I'm learning so much. I'm like, I mean, I can apply for grants for a podcast. I can do all like I didn't like. I'm learning so
Yeah.
much while doing, and I wish that I had folks to kind of teach. And I guess that's why I kind of get to the next question when it comes to the support that you're giving. And I know, again, it's still a business, and but you're teaching as well. How has it helped the community around these athletes as well when it comes to knowing that they have someone they can lean on and their community, not just their parents, their families, things like that, but it might even just be the community support in their city and things like that, where they can kind of just get the information and that partnership is helping them. So how's Bell and Bella? Let me rephrase the question. Help the community of athlete. How do you feel that you've helped the community athlete with what you're doing?
My goal is to get them to look beyond sports. I think a lot of
Mhm.
these kids, I mean, picture the kids, even if they're 9, 10. I mean, it varies up to certain ages. When they're coming to you talking about um, being investors or branding, and um, it's really good to hear. I think, some parents, they're 100% bought in. Some parents are like, man, this is really bold. This is really aggressive.
Mhm.
To try to say we're not teaching our kids financial literacy, and I'm not saying to that degree, but are we teaching them how to make money without giving up their time?
Yeah.
Um, that's important, and I really feel the community so far as I'm still kind of new to the Bloomington area, not as much, but I'm spread out, in other cities and towns. They've been pretty receptive to it. I think sometimes anything that's different is scary,
Yeah.
especially when we talk NILs, because it's hitting the high school stages, and I'm very big on, the goal is let's hit the high school areas,
Mhm.
but not everyone can win and not everyone can be picked, so they're hand selected because this is not an easy program.
Yeah.
It is not for the faint at heart. So it's those who really want to see their bloodline revived.
Mhm.
Okay, they want to be that one in their family, and it doesn't matter what background area you come from. If you're committed, I'll take you.
Yeah. And
So it has been, so for the most part, I would say I had really no hard kickback from parents. I think is they're still digging and finding out who I am to a degree of what I do. Last night was a success. I mean, Illinois State, they won another round. We have another game Wednesday. Had an opportunity to celebrate with them, meet them in the locker room, things like that. I bet their head coach is like, "Who am I taking a picture next to?"
believe me, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it up close and personal.
They're like, hey, that's that entrepreneur slash, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's mainly for the next generation of athletes, man. I've been down a very tough road, and I've been blessed to have a will of a fighter. But I can assure not everyone has that type of will. So if you can step in and help them, I really don't see any parent getting in the way of that, unless they think you're misguiding. But
Yeah.
I don't do that, and my files and my phone's always open. It's really one-on-one basis, so I'm not isolated from the world at all.
That's good. That's good. So as far as like the student athlete and like, what's one thing, obviously we both have talked about doing things backwards. We start on one end and we back the other way. But if you could plant a seed in each athlete that is growing up right now, that's going to kind of change their mindset as to what their futures can look like, things like that. What would be that one seed that you'll try to plant in each of these athletes when they come to getting ready for, because not just getting ready financially, but just getting ready for the world the world as they don't know it.
I give them advice that you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I advise them to go, don't, how can I answer this without seeing so Wow. This one's a tough one. My advice is the ones that I select under my brand is I really encourage them, and actually it's required to read certain things they would normally not get in a typical, school setting. And the reason this is because it's not scripted.
Mhm.
I can say this because I'm also a licensed teacher too. So so I know how the educational system works, and I'm a supporter of it. I believe in it, and that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying some of the key essentials that these kids need to be successful, unfortunately, it's not in our curriculum. So I kind of teeter them towards the books and the things they need to advance in ways that they will never be exposed to, if that makes sense.
It does. Like I say, I know me and some of my partners, we had a conversation about home ec growing up and
Hmm.
how it's kind of disappeared. And we talked about some of the classes we take, like the business classes, and learning how to do bills, and learning how to actually learn how to write a check.
Yeah.
Just regular things that that kids just don't know how to do right now, because it's not, those are things that were taught then because they wanted people to be able to take care of their homes, their households, excuse me. And right now it's just kind of okay, well, we don't need those classes, so
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be some type of representation of just normal day-to-day things that can still teach our kids, because as a parent, it's more two-parent households now, not two-parent household. The people who are in the households are all working, I should say.
Yeah.
So it's not just having someone at home who can teach that, because a lot of kids spend a lot more time alone than they did
Yeah.
when we were growing up and things like that. So obviously we talked a little bit about legacy and what we can plant the seeds, but your legacy, you know, and obviously I wanted to make sure, I know that, you weren't kind of focused on yourself, but I'm going to just give you this one question about yourself. So what do you see your legacy for your brand? Because again, this is your brand, this is your build. What do you see your legacy maybe 5 years from now? We'll start the short term, about 5 years instead of going 10.
I'd say short term, the goal for my legacy is that in my is to go back and reach back for others. I think if most people see my symbol, it's a tree and the roots, and you don't need to be family to be on my tree.
Mhm.
You just need to be pure hearted and forgiveness to the world and understand that things happen. And are you ready to build together? Are you ready to help your neighbor? It really goes back to a movement of just everyone taking care of each other. So my legacy, as it keeps going, and if I leave this earth early, Lord knows, hope not, is that he wanted better for others than himself. And as my son, his athletic career where it may go, but he is understanding and he's right by my side learning the business as well. And I hope he would take it and do the same and understand there's a whole nother world out there that he's been blessed not to see, but his father has seen it.
Mhm.
So the end of my legacy is this: didn't care what background, what you look like, nationalities. If you had a heart and you wanted to make better of yourself and for your family and their family legacy, he would open up his door for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's the short version.
I'll take that one, because it's definitely, it's refreshing to hear someone wanting to make sure that you take somebody with you. That's essentially what it is. You, on your ascent, bring somebody with you who wouldn't normally get a chance to be there with you. So that's refreshing to hear. And I'm a proponent of that. If I go upstairs and tell my son, hey, tell him, that is my exact thing. Make sure when you get there, you brought somebody with you so they know exactly, what it takes, and they can teach somebody as well. And so
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. So, Guy, like I said, I appreciate you. Like I said, that 20 something minutes goes by fast.
It
you, know,
does,
you, don't,
man.
you don't realize you got a whole episode of a television show goes by really fast. So, you got anything in the works right now? Anything that you want to, that we got promoting that's going on, either business wise or personal, that you want to put out here? Mhm.
I got some things in the work, but they have that saying is, you don't want to jinx yourself or say it before it happens. But just some good things in work, man. I'm hoping to, take a flight out to Texas and check out the scenery. We'll start there, and
Well,
then fly back and just check out this area as well. You never know, it may match up. Hint, hint. So
listen. The scenery is good here. The scenery is good. That's all I'll say there for you. How can I reach you on any of your socials or websites or anything like that? I'm gonna put it in the show notes as well.
So what they had to do, they just literally 3 days ago had to take down my Bell and Bella properties, and they have to rework it because they have to gel them all together now
Understand.
because we didn't have one website. So that's in the work. And my aunt, she lives in Brazil, so she's working on it again. Reaching back, take care of others, man. I love them over there, and they're doing a great job over there, and can't wait for them to be back home in the States. Um, but really, you can reach me on Instagram, Guy Bell Jr. You can go to Bell and Bella on Facebook, but from my advisors, they're talking about just dropping the Bell and Bella off Facebook and just merging it because they say you are Guy Bell, so you might as well just
Just be you.
just be you.
Just
Be
be
you.
you.
But you don't know what you don't know. But I get it. I get what they're saying. So yeah. So basically, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Instagram. I start there. When my website really gets up, I'll give another push and reach out to you
And
guys.
we'll add it. We can always add it on later. So,
Yes,
Guy,
sir.
man, I appreciate you joining me, brother.
No, it was a pleasure you guys having me. And like I say, and I have a good feeling that we're going to be close.
Yeah, we'll do this again and do this again, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of this, especially with the growth of what both companies are doing at the same time. That some things just have just that parallel, just sometimes just happens naturally. So,
Sure.
all right, guys, see you later, buddy.
All right. Appreciate you.